Hello everyone. Welcome. And today, hi Jamie, yay, hello. Hi you guys, once again, sorry I'm a few minutes late. We were moving some furniture, it was real loud, you would not want this thing to be on while we were doing it. So, I'm so excited to have you guys here today, and I'm so pumped to talk to you about the low Fodmap diet. Hi Rachel! Low Fodmap diet and the ketogenic diet, and why these things can actually kind of put us back in our healing journey, and why they're not the answer to ditching our digestive issues long term, right? So I want to make sure that you guys have the right information. I know it's very, very common for the low FODMAP diet to just be thrown out if you've ever received an IBS diagnosis, which can be helpful for a period of time under the right conditions. So that we're gonna get into all that, yeah? So awesome, cool you guys. If you are new, please come say hi in the comments. And if you're like, I don't know who you are, my name's Hannah Aylward. I'm a certified holistic health coach and I specialize in gut health. And I really help women take their health back into their own hands and ditch these never-ending digestive issues that they've struggled with for years and years and years. Most of my students, by the time they come to me, have been struggling for, hi Pam, most of my students, by the time they come to me, they've been struggling for years, right? Not even like a few weeks, but years. So I really work to get them answers and to repair their digestive function in a holistic sense. Hi Maureen, awesome you guys. So welcome. I'm really excited to talk to you guys about all of this today. So let me know in the comments, have you tried the low FODMAP diet before? Have you tried the ketogenic diet before? And how did you feel on these? What kind of results did you get? I would love to know. Or are you like, I don't even know what you're talking about, let's dive into it. Let me know. I'd love to know where you guys are at on the spectrum there. And cool, so in today's training, we're gonna be covering why the ketogenic diet is not necessarily the answer for your digestive issues, why the low FODMAP diet can reduce your symptoms temporarily, but it doesn't fix the root cause of the issue, and that's what we're really gonna be diving into here as well. So when it doesn't fix the root cause of the issue, that basically means we don't get these long-lasting results that we want, right? We have to deal with it at its core, at its root. We're also going to be talking about the number one most important thing for a healthy gut and why these diets really actually eliminate this, not good long-term, right? So it's very much like short-term gain, long-term pain. And I know that if you've been struggling with digestive issues for a while, the last thing that you want is for them to come back, right? So we want to make sure that we're supporting this long-term, we're supporting our digestive system long-term, and we are not, we're not just kind of like putting a Band-Aid on it or feeling a little better for a few weeks and then it's all coming back, right? Okay, and then we're also going to be talking about what you should really do, or first the big mistakes that people really make on these diets, and so you can make sure not to make them, and then also what you can do to really avoid this mess of just like the diets and the other diets and, you know, cycling from diet to diet. Like, I'd love to know, let me know in the comments, how many diets have you tried to overcome your digestive issues? Like elimination diets, low FODMAP diets, paleo diets, right? Like, let me know your experience, and it's because we're not dealing with the underlying root cause when we're doing this, and we're going to start talking about that here too. So I'd love to know kind of where you're at on your journey, how many you've tried, if any have helped you, all of that. Pam says she's tried 3. Yeah, totally. Jamie says, did FODMAP for years. I can recite it forward and backwards. Good for you, because I can't even. I have to look at those lists. It gave me some relief, but it didn't fix anything, and it's super restrictive. Totally. And reintroduction scares me. I haven't added beans back into my life in years. I miss a black bean. Girl, I actually just started eating black beans like more frequently, and they're so good. I don't know. That's a whole other conversation we can have on the side. But I hear you. It's really important to start slow, and once again, really important to address the root cause of the issue, which we're gonna get into here, because just taking the foods in or out or whatever isn't necessarily going to address the root cause of the issue. Therefore, exactly what Jamie said, it'll give you some relief, it'll have you feeling a little better for a period of time, and then it's not gonna work anymore, right? not what we want. We want you to completely overcome these issues, which is absolutely possible. I get messages from women all the time asking me if it's possible, and they are literally in tears when I'm like, of course this is possible, because it's so difficult and you've been struggling for so long, and I know how horrible that is and how it really starts to run your life, right? So we want you to really, really recover from all of these issues. Hi, Perry. Okay, awesome, you guys. So let's go dive into quickly the ketogenic diet. Has anyone tried that diet for their digestive issues? Here's the thing. What the ketogenic diet does is let's review the top 3 mistakes that people make on the ketogenic diet. Yeah. So the first one is going to be prioritizing macros over quality of food. So when you're eating the ketogenic diet, a lot of people, if you're not familiar with it, I'm not going to super go into the background here. I think my audience is probably familiar with it, but it's super high fat, lower protein, very low carbohydrate, right? What are veggies? Veggies are carbohydrates. We need our veggies, right? Our veggies are filled with fiber. That's what breeds and feeds those good bacteria in our gut. Those good bacteria help with hormone regulation, help with digestion, help with B vitamin production, help with energy. The list goes on and on, right? So when we drastically reduce our carbohydrate intake, which in one of my programs, you'll see we do take it down strategically, but we don't eliminate carbohydrates, right? Vegetables are carbohydrates. Fruits are carbohydrates, right? So when we're not getting in these good fibers, we're not feeding any of those good gut bacteria. So when we take them all out and we're just eating, bacon and eggs, we may feel better for a period of time, but it's unsustainable and we're still not addressing the root cause of the issue. And it's purely because we've taken out the carbohydrates, so we're not dealing with the fermentation anymore. So when people do that, and when they embark on the ketogenic diet, we tend to really prioritize macros, right? So we want to make sure we're getting in all the fat, which can also be difficult to digest if your digestive system is out of whack, right? I had someone respond to my post about it yesterday, and they were like, I tried the ketogenic diet, it put me in the hospital. Not every diet is for everyone, right? On my program, we take out a lot of the common toxic foods, and then we reintroduce to see which foods work best for your body, because what works for me may not work for you, vice versa, right? And it's gonna shift a little bit over time. As your gut starts to heal, you'll be able to tolerate more foods and, keep going with that. So when we prioritize macros over quality, then we're eating low quality food, right? Low quality dairy, low quality animal proteins, all of that stuff, filled with hormones, very mucus producing, not beneficial. Also, a lot of the meats that are just available on the market, unless you're sourcing really good quality grass-fed meats, organic, right? They're gonna be pumped full of hormones, and they're gonna be pumped full of antibiotics. And what do antibiotics do? Antibiotics get rid of the bacteria, right? So while you're on this gut repairing journey, if you're eating all this meat, this animal protein that's been pumped with antibiotics, you're killing off your bacteria. So you're trying to repopulate them and you're killing them off. So you're never gonna get anywhere, right? It's really, so if you, I'm also I eat meat in my life in small quantities, all of that, and I think it's very bio-individual as well. I think we'll talk about veganism next week and kind of how that really actually damaged my gut. So save your questions for that. Pam says grass-fed. Yes, totally, right? But so we just really need to make sure that we are getting in the right quality of food. So, adding Kraft singles to your meals to hit your fat to protein to carbohydrate ratio is not the best choice here, right? This does not make the meal good for you just because it hits the macros that are necessary to get you in the ketogenic state. I have a lot of thoughts about the ketogenic diet too. I don't believe it's fully supportive of women's hormones, all of that, we could go into it. But just because it hits that macro content, that macronutrient content, does not mean that it's high quality, does not mean that it's giving you all of the nutrients that you need, right? So if you solely focus on increasing your fat intake, you could be choosing these inflammatory junk foods containing cheap industrial oils, canola oil, soybean oil, peanut oil, all of these things we want to avoid, right? Artificial sweeteners, preservatives, and really depriving ourselves of these real, whole, healthy foods. Love this info. Yes, good. You're so welcome. So quality, right? Okay, let's see. Overdoing the dairy is another issue that people tend to do on the ketogenic diet. So dairy is not my fave. I find a lot of people have negative reactions to it, and I think there's a stat that shows about 70% of people actually cannot properly digest lactose, which is the sugar naturally containing sugar in dairy, right? So when we can't properly digest it, it's going to cause issues in our digestive system, right? It also tends to be very mucus producing, which you'll notice, like if you have a cold or something, or if the more milk that you're drinking, the more cheese that you're eating, you'll be more like phlegmy. It'll aggravate your allergies, all of that stuff. It all works together. And I find a lot of my students who are either suffering, of course, with digestive issues, but also migraines, headaches, acne. Once they remove the dairy, things get a lot better. I know for me personally, if I have dairy, I get a headache and I'll break out. Okay, Jamie says keto sounds crazy. Because of the SIBO, I am currently doing the no sugar, gluten, no soy, no dairy. I was no corn, but I've added non-GMO popcorn kernels, and I do not feel I am missing anything. That's awesome, Jamie. Yeah. So I think that yes, I think that a lot of people, think that it needs to be really, really restrictive, and that you won't be able to eat anything, that you won't be able to enjoy these foods, but that's so not the case. It's so not the case, right? My entire cookbook takes out the gluten, the dairy, the sugar, the soy, and there's like a million amazing recipes in there. Okay, so overdoing the dairy. I take the dairy out in my gut repairing programs because it tends to bring down inflammation and we see results quicker. And then we can reintroduce it and see how it makes us feel, right? Pam said, I had lasagna last night, had a tummy ache. Totally, I would too. I would not choose that combination for myself because it just really wouldn't help me out. Once again, going back to the dairy, right? Most dairy cows are pumped full of hormones to increase milk production. So this is literally drug-filled milk that is then pasteurized, homogenized, and the fat is removed. So then it's filled with synthetic vitamins to make up for the lack of nutrients. No thanks. Not for me, not what I would choose. Your cookbook, Jamie says, your cookbook, yes. The cookbook is great. If you don't have the cookbook, definitely get your hands on it. I can put the link in here for you guys, but it's available at the link in my bio, on my website, all of that. It's incredible. I'm beginning to think I can't anymore, Pam says. Yeah, potentially with the dairy, or the combination. I mean, lasagna is a real heavy combo. We've got protein, animal protein, we've got gluten-filled noodles, and we've got dairy. And that combination all together is quite difficult to digest, especially if you have a gut health issue. I mean, if you have a damaged digestive system, no, it's not going to be the best. You might be able to tolerate it in a bit once we really repair your digestive system, right? Rachel says, I love the hand cookbook. Yes, it's so good. Okay. So going back to it, the third biggest mistake that people make on the ketogenic diet, and this is where we're also going to kind of wrap in the low FODMAP diet, is the ketogenic diet. It's so easy to take out all these vegetables, right? Because the vegetables are the source of carbohydrates, and these carbohydrates will take us out of ketosis, right? Which is true, but where did all the veggies go? Where did all of these nutrient-dense, phytochemical-rich, fiber-filled vegetables that are loaded with antioxidants, where did they go? Or these like fruits, berries, pomegranates, strawberries, blueberries, right? These are essential. Our gut loves polyphenols, loves polyphenols. And those are in those really like deep, rich, dark colored berries, right? Like the pomegranates, things like that. So when we take all of these out to hit our macro count for keto, we're drastically reducing the amount of plant foods that we take in naturally. And then we're also, with that, we're decreasing our gut diversity. And this is where I want to talk about the low FODMAP diet as well, right? So when we take out all of these gut healthy veggies, we're taking out all of these nutrients, all of these phytochemicals, all of this, like these really important essentials for our health, and we're going to decrease diversity because this is kind of how it works, right? We have all these bacteria in our gut, trillions of bacteria, and how do we feed these bacteria? It's through fiber-rich foods. It's through prebiotics. These are what feed the good bacteria in the gut. we want a really diverse and rich population of these gut bacteria. When we drastically take out these vegetables, we're no longer feeding these good bacteria. So when we're no longer feeding these good bacteria, they can't thrive, right? This alone will damage digestion. Some people have actually they'll get something like dysbiosis, right? Which can be an overgrowth of bad bacteria, relatively speaking, but really it can also just mean that you don't have enough of the good bacteria. And that kind of shows us that maybe your diet's really restrictive. Maybe you've taken out these veggies because you feel like you can't digest them. So you're left eating like chicken and eggs and, one vegetable, right? A lot of my students are at that point. By the time they find me, they're able to digest like 3 vegetables and they just rotate those over and over. But this is, once again, because we're not getting to the root cause of the issue. So those are kind of the top 3 mistakes with keto, and I want to I want to walk it into low Fodmap diet now too, because there's a similar issue here. So let me know, have you been told that you should try out the low Fodmap diet? It'll help with your IBS. Let me know in the comments. It's very, very common. Or if you've been diagnosed with something like SIBO, it's very common for them to recommend a low Fodmap diet. But PSA, the number one thing that I want you to take away from this, I want you to take a lot of things away, but the number one thing is that these diets will not cure, heal, get rid of these issues, right? IBS is popping up because there is an underlying issue. We've got a bacterial overgrowth, we've got damage to the gut lining, we've got maybe too few digestive enzymes being produced, we're eating in a state of stress. There's a whole host of other things that could be happening that my program addresses in a very systematic process, a systematic way. But you don't just get IBS and this you gotta take out all these foods, live with it, right? Or live on the low Fodmap diet forever. I mean, horrible. Just as Jamie said earlier, it's super restrictive. I don't know how she memorized that food list. I couldn't. And I help teach this, right? But it's eating out, so difficult. We don't want that to be the case for you anymore. So, okay. The reason why the low Fodmap diet is also recommended is because it can help reduce symptoms temporarily. And this is because it's low in fermentable carbohydrates. That's what the diet is. The fermentation is what is causing the bloating. The fermentation of the bacteria is what's causing the bloating. So if we are simply taking out these foods to decrease the fermentation, but we're not addressing the underlying issue that is the overgrowth of the bacteria, we're missing out. We're not getting this at the root, right? So this is what I really want you to know. It takes other things, right? And by the time that you also have an overgrowth of this bacteria, whether it's in the small intestine or the large intestine, you've done damage to your gut lining. This overgrowth of bacteria will damage that gut lining, right? It's also most likely going to decrease the amount of digestive enzymes and of stomach acid that you are naturally producing. These all need to be addressed. All of these things need to be addressed, right? This is what we address in my program, literally step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, because the gut you have to take care of holistically. It's not just a probiotic or it's not just a low Fodmap diet. And I don't say that to be this is so complicated and good luck, but I say that A, I have a program that addresses all this, but B, because I don't want you thinking that just because you tried the low Fodmap diet and it didn't work, you're doomed. Does not have to be the case, right? We still have lots and lots of options. We just haven't hit it at the root cause. So I really want you to know that because I don't want you to lose hope. I don't want you to lose hope that you can't heal. Okay, Ren says, yes, and learn that onion and garlic were my only culprits. That's awesome. So ideally we want to take those out for a period of time, address the underlying issue, and then add them in little bit by little bit. And when I say little bit by little bit, I really truly mean little bit by little bit, tiny amounts, to get everything kind of working again and to get your body naturally producing the enzymes that are needed to break those foods down. Jamie said, yes, doctors told me to do this diet to fix my IBS and SIBO, that this will be my life. No, this is when I get pissed. This is when I get pissed. And I cried in the office when this doctor told me that this was going to be my life and there was no cure. Yeah, no. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. Yep, your program is the first to give me relief in years and made me feel seen and not dismissed. Jamie. Thank you. Working with Jamie was such a joy. And it's just such a joy. Helping you guys is such a freaking joy. I won't get on my soapbox where I start like getting pissed about what information is being put out there. But I just want to make sure that you get the right information, okay? Okay, so once again, the low FODMAP diet, the theory behind it is that it reduces fermentable carbohydrates. What's causing this fermentation is the bacteria. If we don't address the bacteria, we will be forever living on this low FODMAP diet to try to manage our symptoms. That sounds horrible. That sounds horrible to me. I don't want to be living my life by food lists and all that stuff, right? And like random foods. We've got lots of healthy foods in there too. And this is what I want to talk about as well, is that low FODMAP diet has us taking out a lot of these really healthy foods. So it's not meant to be lived on. It is not meant to be your diet for the rest of your life, right? Just as Ren said, like we're taking out garlic and onion. Garlic and onion are so good for you, right? Garlic has so many wonderful properties to it. Antimicrobial, antibacterial, right? Onions, same thing, right? These foods are really, really nutrient dense. So we don't want to be living without these if we have a choice, which we do have a choice. Of course, some of us will be able to tolerate more than others, right? And maybe during certain times, not as much, whatever. But I don't want you to be fearing these foods for the rest of your life, or be told that you just have to live on this diet to feel any relief at all, because that's just not the case. We just have to address this underlying issue. So we need the fiber from these plant-based foods to feed our good bacteria in our gut microbiome. Diversity is key. You guys, the number one indicator of a healthy gut is diversity, because all of these different microbes, all of these different fibers and the compositions and the combinations of all of this like juicy goodness in these foods and these plant-based foods are what feed these gut bacteria, and then they can start their own little colonies in our gut and they can make more good bacteria, and then we're feeling a lot better, right? Do we know exactly what a healthy gut looks like yet? No. And I see that come up sometimes as well, because I advised someone in my community to get a SIBO test because she was having so many issues, and I was like, I think you should try a SIBO test, or you should get a GI map test to see what's going on in your gut. It's a stool test. We offer this now through my program, which I'm so pumped to be able to offer you guys, because then you'll see what bacteria you have, amounts of short chain fatty acids, if you've got an infection like H. pylori, right? These can all cause issues for you. And her dietitian said, we don't know what a healthy gut looks like, so that doesn't make any sense. It's a waste of your time. And I was like, it's not a waste of your time, because no, we don't have an exact map of what a healthy gut looks like, but we do know that with more bacterial diversity, we feel better, right? And we also know that if we can find an underlying infection, that's going to be affecting you, right? If you have E. coli, if you have H. pylori, if you have a dysbiosis, these are going to be making you feel bad, right? So it's not like it just doesn't make sense to me, right? We want to identify anything that's harming you and get it out of there, get it removed, right? So, just my 2 cents on that. So overall, the low FODMAP diet really decreases diversity, and it's totally possible for you to open your diet back out. You just have to go really slow, and first and foremost, you have to address this underlying issue. So basically what that means by addressing the underlying issue is repair your gut, increase your digestive health, right? We have to repair your digestive health. We have to get rid of anything that's blocking us from healing, bacteria, inflammation, right? We address all of this in my online program. We have to bring in and make sure that you have enough stomach acid, enough digestive enzymes, right? If you're dealing with something like acid reflux, let's see, you've had heartburn, you're taking lots of Tums, you've been put on a PPI, right? You have low stomach acid because of that. When we have low stomach acid, we'll get an overgrowth of bacteria, because the stomach acid is what helps us digest our food, first and foremost, which if we don't have enough of that, we're gonna have bloating. And it also kills the bacteria that enters our system from the food that we eat, right? Because, apples grow on trees. There's bacteria all over the place, right? So when we eat that, we can rinse it and everything, but it contains a lot of good bacteria, but it may have some other kind of bacteria or a pathogen or whatever, and the stomach acid literally kills that off. So when we're consistently suppressing stomach acid, this is really dangerous long term. PPIs initially hit the market. I think I'm gonna post about them today, but PPIs initially hit the market, and they were told not to be given more than 6 weeks. How many people just take Tums, take all of these like over-the-counter PPIs or one that's prescribed to them for like a long time, maybe even the rest of their lives? This is super, super dangerous. Okay, so we want to hit that root cause. We want to address the levels of stomach acid, the digestive enzyme production, our nervous system, nourish our nervous system. We cannot heal if we're in a state of imbalance with our nervous system. Decrease the inflammation, take out these inflammatory foods, right? Make sure that we're getting enough of the good foods. This is just as important as taking out those inflammatory ones. So low FODMAP does not address this underlying issue, is my point, right? So don't lose hope if you've done it and you haven't gotten the results that you thought you could, or you thought that was promised to you, right? So the low FODMAP diet is restricting these foods with these prebiotic effects, and these are, once again, needed to stimulate the growth of this good bacteria, of the beneficial bacteria, of the probiotics, right? If you take a probiotic or you've heard about them, we've got to feed them or else they're just gonna go. We're also, so when we are restricting these prebiotics, we're reducing the good bacteria, and of particular concern is bifidobacteria, and this is often found to be decreased in those that have done a low FODMAP diet. And bifidobacteria is really important because it helps produce short-chain fatty acids, including butyrate. I've done a whole post on this. If you want more information, check out my Instagram. I kind of break down like what the heck these are. But short-chain fatty acids in a nutshell are super inflammatory, right? They're super inflammatory, they're very healing, and butyrate specifically as a short-chain fatty acid is important because it's believed to have a role in colon cancer prevention, supporting the immune system, and our overall health. So when we're decreasing these bacteria that then produce these good, juicy, short-chain fatty acids that take down inflammation naturally, we're doing ourselves a disservice, right? Once again, low FODMAP diet is also super unsustainable, in my opinion. It's just like a pain. It's just a real pain. I love Italian food. I love garlic and onions, all of that kind of stuff. So it seems that FODMAP intolerances may actually get worse the longer that you're on the diet. And let me kind of break this down for you. When we take these things out of our, when we A, decrease bacterial diversity so drastically, and B, we take these things out of our diet, our body stops producing the digestive enzymes to break them down naturally. So this is why, Jamie, if you're still on, it's important to reintroduce these foods really slowly in really small amounts, because your body hasn't been producing the enzymes to break them down in a while, potentially even years if you took out beans for years because you were so afraid. So you have to bring it in really, really slowly, like maybe even like refried beans that are like in a paste or something, small amounts. I'm talking like a tablespoon. Your body will start to produce these enzymes that you need to break down these foods again, but don't go jumping into like a black bean taco, with like tons of beans. You're gonna get bloated. You don't have the digestive enzymes to break it down, all of that stuff. It's not necessarily that we still have an overgrowth of bacteria. If you've done the full program, it's more so that your body it hasn't been producing these enzymes. You took the food out, right? So we just want to bring it in slow and steady. But we find that FODMAP intolerances actually get worse the longer that you're on the diet. So if you've been on the diet for years, you may have a stronger reaction when you actually do reintroduce these FODMAPs, more so than someone that's been on it for just a few weeks or something. So let me know if that kind of like hits home, if you've experienced that, any of that. Another thing that I want to point out here as well, Jamie says, yeah, I was thinking like 5 beans for my first meal. Totally, literally. I would just slow and steady, baby, slow and steady. Another thing I want to point out is also quality, right? So something that I touched on with the ketogenic diet is quality and how we tend to choose like macros over quality. So some low FODMAP foods that are okay on the diet are like wheat, like cakes, cereal bars, literally the list I pulled up, breadcrumbs, wheat, biscuits. I mean, no, y'all. These all contain gluten. Gluten produces zonulin. Zonulin contributes to leaky gut. So this is another thing, right? This is why you won't see the low FODMAP diet in my online program. We do a different variation, and we can bring in some low FODMAP foods for you if they seem to really help while we kind of get rid of everything else. But that's why you won't see my program being a low FODMAP diet, because you could be eating white bread on this, and we're just damaging the gut lining further, contributing to inflammation further, you're not going to feel any better. So that's kind of like my everything for today. And once again, I really wanted to just emphasize that the low FODMAP diet does not fix the underlying cause of your issue. And this is a bacterial overgrowth or damage to your gut lining and or digestive function, decreased digestive function, and microbial imbalance, right? So it doesn't address these things. It's not just all about the food either. We really have to take a look at this holistically, right? What you need to do is address the damage to the gut microbiome holistically. So this can be the bacterial overgrowth, any pathogens, damage to the gut lining, the bacterial composition, as well as your lifestyle and eating habits, right? Which I go into in my program. I talk all about this. I'll probably do a live about this as well, how important it is to make sure that we're eating in the right state as opposed to just like wolfing our food and shoving it down. Really, really, really important. So this is what will actually lead to long-term results and not just feeling better for simply a few weeks, right? Also, it'll prevent you from like losing your mind because that diet can be really, really restrictive, right? Do we have any questions? That's kind of what I have for today. I know I covered quite a bit there. So I'd love to know your feedback if you've tried any of these diets, how this all sounds to you. And I'll actually be teaching a brand new like full masterclass. It's gonna be honestly probably like an hour. I tend to go a little bit over, so I'm gonna try to like make everything very concise, but I'll be teaching a free masterclass, not next week, but the week after, really breaking down like my 3 phases to holistically and thoroughly repairing the gut, which is going to help you actually get rid of these issues, like get rid of them and not just have to like symptom manage for the rest of your life. So if you're interested in that, just send me a DM, or if you're here on Facebook with me, comment, and I'll make sure that you get access to join this masterclass. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be freaking awesome. I have so much information, my brain's like exploding, but I really want you guys to get this information because once again, my students have been suffering for years, and I'm like, that's when I'm like, I get mad because you don't need to be suffering for years like this. No, right? It can take some time to do some healing, but years of suffering and everything getting worse and being told that you're just gonna have to live with this is not true. It's not real. So I want you to know that you can address the root cause and get rid of these symptoms. I'm a firm believer of this. Firm believer. And take your health into your own hands, right? This is about you. No one's going to take care of your health like you are. There are amazing practitioners and amazing people out there, you know, and I hope to be a guiding light for you in this arena, but this is your work, right? So when I help my students, I'm like, listen, you're the one doing the work here, right? You're the one showing up day after day to do this. So really and intentionally take your health into your own hands because you're the one that's looking out for you. I think so often we just like go to these people in white coats for all the answers and think that they're gonna solve it for us. That's not the case, right? We have to take responsibility for this and really like with good intention. Okay, let's see here. Sorry, my my arm is in this. Perry says, I learned so much. Thanks, Han, you're welcome. Pam says, yes, please. Cool, Pam, just shoot me a DM. I'll make sure you get it. Ren says, do you have to know what the root cause is, or can you follow the program and it will help regardless? This is a great question. So we basically address every part of the digestive system of the gut in this program. So what I can tell you is that people come in with all sorts of issues, and I'll be like showing you guys some of my students' stories in the next few weeks. They come in with all kinds of things and they leave feeling better. So that's what I can tell you. What I can also tell you is that I have brought on a practicing physician onto my team. Her name is Dr. Saima, and now we have access to, you can order in addition to my program, which lays out the foundation of all of this work for you. You can order specific testing with her. So if you wanted to get a stool analysis test to see what kind of bacteria you have, you can get that test through her, and then she'll sit down with you and do an analysis of the test with you and give you specific recommendations for like antimicrobial herbs and things like that, specific to what you have going on. And so that's available to you as well, which is so exciting. And we also have, we're offering food sensitivity testing, which isn't I would recommend going through my program first and then getting it. I've talked a lot about this. I won't go on about it now. But just because sometimes our sensitivities that we're being shown are actually not foods that we're sensitive to. It's just that like they're going in. We have leaky gut, we have increased intestinal permeability, so we've got stuff flowing where it really shouldn't be flowing, triggering that inflammation. And then the test is showing that it's the food when it's really not the food, it's the damage to the gut. So yeah, I hope that helps. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome. Awesome. So basically, like our program really covers this. Plus we get into the emotional, plus we get into the mental, plus we get into the nervous system, plus we get into really sustainable lifestyle practices. So this is not a 30-day shred or like a 30-day challenge, right? This is the program itself is, a certain amount of days, but this is like lifestyle, implementing new lifestyle shifts, because that's how you're going to sustainably stay better. Jamie says, thank you, Hannah. You're so welcome. It was so nice talking to you again. Rupa says, I'm interested in joining the class. I also am interested in the program. Was wondering if you do video consults prior. We can hop on the phone. Yeah. So when the program does open up, I'm happy to chat with you guys on the phone to see if, this would be a good fit for you, answer any questions that you have, of course. So Rupa, I'll make sure that you get the information for the masterclass once that's available. And then, and yeah, just shoot me a message. We're connected here on Facebook, so just let me know, and I'll make sure that you get that info too. I'm working on the masterclass now, so it's not quite ready, but I'm gonna work on it today. Pam says, how much is the program? I don't think I ever asked. So we have different levels of the program available, and different payment plans as well. So if you want more information, just shoot me a DM, and we can talk about it. Okay, cool, you guys. I hope this was helpful today. Awesome, yay, cool. So I hope this was helpful. If you want to join the masterclass, I'll be breaking down every phase of restoring the gut that I cover in my program. And it's going to be like a solid hour. So it's going to be like really educational and really help you guys get some answers and you'll get offered some support as well. So awesome. If any other questions flow in, if you're catching the replay of this, let me know that you're catching the replay. Give me any questions that you have in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer. And thank you for hanging out with me today. I hope you had as much fun as I did. And stay tuned because the masterclass will be ready very soon. Yeah, it'll be opening up for enrollment next week. So it's coming. Awesome, you guys. Have a fantastic day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.